This is Jordan Secchio in Washington, D.C. Today on Jay Secchio Live, the American Center for Law and Justice prepares to do battle with intimidation from the Council on American-Islamic Relations.
This is not getting discussed on the mainstream media. Not only are they wrong legally, but the fact that they would do this is outrageous. This is an overreaction and really nonsense. How would you react if this was your son or your daughter? It's the offense of knowing the truth. It's the offense of having an alternate worldview. Saying God bless you to someone is not a violation of the law.
Welcome back to Jay Secchio Live. This is Jordan Secchio coming to you live from Washington, D.C. We have something brand new to announce. The American Center for Law and Justice is involved in a situation developing out of Oregon. It involves Lane Community College and an individual who will be joining us in the next segment of the broadcast named Barry Summers, who wanted to teach a class about Islam for their continuing education program at the community college. Now, he has been a part of activist groups and well-known speaking out against radical Islam, but he wanted to do this education program. And how many times, folks, do we hear from politicians, whether it's President Obama or President Bush in the past, and all of our representatives, that we need to give back to our community. We should teach at things like community college. We should offer to educate the public. Here, Barry Summers wanted to educate his citizens in Oregon about Islam because it's in the news all the time. Now, you may have heard about this story because what happened was when this class was announced, the Council of American-Islamic Relations, you know them as CARE, well, they got involved and they sent a letter to the school, the Lane Community College in Eugene, Oregon, and said, absolutely not. You cannot have this class at the community college. So here it is, the American Center for Law and Justice, ready to do battle with this community college because of the intimidation tactics used by the Council on American-Islamic Relations. Are you sick and tired of CARE and their intimidation, being called a racist or xenophobic or Islamophobic because you oppose radical Islam? When we hear in the news, when there's a military recruitment center that may be bombed, who gets arrested? A recent Muslim convert. When there's a Christmas tree lighting ceremony in Oregon, of all places, who gets arrested? A young man who's a Muslim from Somalia. It is why we have to take a stand and why the American Center for Law and Justice will be representing Barry Summers, who will be joining us in just a few moments on the broadcast, in this situation involving Lane Community College. Are you sick and tired of this intimidation by CARE, of the words used, basically defaming us, smearing us? Who is CARE, the Council on American-Islamic Relations? While they were founded as part of the Muslim Brotherhood, so part of that umbrella group, the Muslim Brotherhood's stated goal is to destroy the West from within. But CARE has a more interesting history. For instance, the founder of CARE's Texas chapter received a 65-year prison sentence in 2009 for funneling over $12 million to Hamas. Another CARE official designated by the U.S. government in 1995 as a terrorist and Hamas leader. He's now a Hamas leader in Syria. Randall Royer, CARE's former civil rights coordinator, is serving a 20-year sentence for recruiting terrorists for a Pakistani group linked to the Taliban. Another former community relations director has been deported from CARE, and yet another fundraiser from CARE has recently been deported for fundraising for another terrorist organization. So why is this community college bowing down to CARE and canceling this class? Well, we're not going to let that happen. The ACLJ is involved. We want you to join the committee to say no to this Islamic pressure coming from groups like CARE, to stand with Barry Summers. Call our toll-free number right now. Stand up against this forced tolerance by the Council on American-Islamic Relations and this intimidation of anyone who doesn't agree with them. Call our toll-free number now, 877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255. Stand against the Council on American-Islamic Relations.
In Oregon, speaking the truth about Islam can cost you your job. That's exactly what happened to a teacher at a community college in Oregon. He was scheduled to teach a class on Islam, introducing students primarily to the Quran and other viewpoints on Islam in a world where terrorism is a constant threat. Then the terrorism-related group CARE steps in, objects, and the teacher is fired. an organization the U.S. government labeled an unindicted co-conspirator in a major terrorism case with links to Hamas, pressures the school into firing the teacher. The American Center for Law and Justice is representing the teacher, standing up for his constitutionally protected free speech rights. The ACLJ is demanding the school rehire the teacher and reinstate the class. Americans are sick and tired of the intimidation tactics used by CARE. Stand with the ACLJ now. Sign on to our committee and send a message to the community college and to CARE. Stop the intimidation now. Add your name today. Call 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255 or online aclj.org.
Welcome back to Jay Sekulow Live. Today we're announcing the Committee to Protect Free Speech from Islamic Pressure, specifically that pressure and intimidation coming from the Council on American-Islamic Relations. You know them as CARE, and I'm sure you've heard about this story out of Oregon, where an individual wanted to teach a class called What is Islam? Giving back to the community, educating the community at a community college, Lane Community College in Eugene, Oregon. The class was set to go. The curriculum was done. It was approved. Everything was ready. The Council on American-Islamic Relations finds out about the class, and it's canceled just a couple days later after they send their demand letter. If you're sick and tired of this intimidation, I want you to join the Committee to Protect Free Speech from Islamic Pressure. It's happening right here in the United States of America by calling our toll-free number now, 877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255. We want you to get involved in this right now because we're not just talking about the issue. We represent that individual who wanted to teach that class, What is Islam, at the Lane Community College. And he's joining us right now live on the broadcast from Oregon. Barry Summer, thank you very much for joining us.
Jordan, good morning to you and everybody. Thanks for having me.
So let me talk to you about this. The community college here, you approached them. You said, hey, I want to teach this class for continuing education, give back to the community, and everything was approved. I want you to walk through your story because you weren't hiding anything from this community college about who you were.
No, absolutely not, Jordan. Back in mid-October, I inquired about setting up a class. They sent me a very long application, which included a description of the course syllabus. I filled it out, sent it back in, met with the liaison, the go-to guy who sets up these continuing education classes. We interviewed and talked. He went over the application. I filled out, all the legal paperwork, and a couple of weeks later, I was informed that, yes, the class had been approved. It was in the computer. Everything was ready to go, and on December 1st, I could start telling people about the class and get students registered.
And Barry, they asked you, the school asked you to promote, and the director there of the continuing education program told you to go out and start promoting the class.
No, I don't know if he was the director or what his exact title is, but yes, basically I was told, go ahead and do whatever you have to do because, as you know, Jordan, in a community college, each student that registers means a little bit more money for the college. So
Sure.
If I got 5 students, that's great. If I got 20 students, that's even better. I wanted to get 20 students. And in the application and the syllabus, I listed my affiliation with ACT for America, and I listed my television show. So they were well aware of my personal opinions.
So they know about your personal opinions. The class is set to go. It's put online as a class that people can sign up for. And then the Council on American-Islamic Relations gets involved. Tell everybody quickly how you found out about the letter that they sent to the Lane Community College.
When a local reporter here came back to me to do a follow-up story and have me respond to the charges that CARE had made in their press release.
And now I got to ask you that.
I didn't even know about it until I was told by the local reporter.
Barry, when I first heard about your case, I started thinking about my own education experience. And political science major, you go to law school, and certainly in political science classes, not as everyone has to be an independent or moderate to teach a program. I had plenty of, and most of the professors are Democrats in most of the education. They're mostly to the left. And so that doesn't disqualify them necessarily from being able to teach political science. And of course, in religion classes in the university system and even the high school system, there's certainly professors and teachers from lots of different religious backgrounds who may be teaching about a faith that's not specific to theirs. So here you have a situation where you are willing to teach this class in the community, to give back to the community, and yet you are disqualified because the Council on American-Islamic Relations gets involved and says you're not fit to teach a class about Islam.
That is absolutely correct. I do not know, though, what's in the minds of the administrators at Lane Community College. However, the timeline certainly suggests that that press release from CARE was, if not the final tipping point, at least a large chunk of the basis for their decision.
Well, and that's what we're working on right now for Barry folks, which the ACLJ is representing him, which is to demand exactly what and why the school made this decision, what it had to do with the Council on American-Islamic Relations, and we're asking them, and it'll be going out very soon, to demand to reinstate this class, to put and have Barry as the instructor, which is important, not just to have the What is Islam class, but also to have Barry as the instructor there in the class. And, you know, I hear from CARE, I looked to some of their representatives in Oregon. One of them said, well, we could have a Muslim activist as long as the person presents the information in an unbiased way. So it's okay, Barry, for CARE to have a Muslim activist teach the class and it can be unbiased. But if it's someone who's questioned radical political Islam in their grassroots work in their own time, then you're immediately disqualified.
That is absolutely correct. And also, personal opinion, I feel that the assumptive leap that everybody made, believing that, well, he's going to take his personal opinion and he's going to translate that exactly into the classroom. And as we all know, all instructors, all teachers, virtually everybody on this planet has personal opinions, and they have views, and they have biases. But that doesn't necessarily say anything about their ability to teach scholarly, historically factual information in the setting of a classroom.
Well, let me say this, folks. It's because of people like Barry who will contact the ACLJ, who, when they feel a wrong has been done and they have not been treated properly, decide to fight back. And they contact the American Center for Law and Justice, and we're able to take a stand to expose a little bit about what CARE's doing to intimidate anyone who doesn't walk their political line and their message, but also how these places like a community college in Oregon will start bending over backwards to satisfy CARE's demand without even listening to the demands of just ordinary citizens and people who want to educate and want to give back to their community. Barry, I want to thank you very much for coming on the broadcast today, and thank you for taking a stand so that the American Center for Law and Justice could get involved.
Jordan, it's a pleasure to work with all of you there. God bless you all the listeners, and this is a fight that's not about me. This is about everyone and the principles that this country is founded on.
Thanks, Barry, and I want you to understand what he just said. It's a fight. It's not about him. It's about a fight for our American principles, and that's why we want you to join Stand Up with Barry, the Committee to Protect Free Speech from Islamic Pressure. That's what it's become now. In our own country, in the United States of America, you can't be an opponent of radical political Islam and teach a class on Islam. Though a Democrat can certainly teach political science, and we know about our university systems, how far left they lean, whether it's a state school, a community college, a private institution, a high school. We know where they're leaning, yet they're teaching a whole host of classes with various topics and opinions, and it's fine if it's the left. But if it happens to be a conservative, someone who is opposed to the radical political ideology of some branches of Islam, then you need not apply. And if you do apply and CARE finds out about it, they're going to intimidate and scare the school from allowing you to carry out and teach the class. It's why you need to join the Committee to Protect Free Speech from Islamic Pressure. Let me say what it is one more time. It's the Committee to Protect Free Speech from Islamic Pressure. It is real, folks. It's happening in America. Barry was joining us live. We are involved in this case directly because of your support. Call and join that petition, that committee now, 877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255. Dan Bennett, the ACLJ's Director of Government Affairs, is joining me in the studio, and we got a lot of phone calls coming in.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Jordan. Let's start with Patty, who's calling from Washington on line 1. Patty, welcome to Jay Sekulow Live.
Well, thank you very much, and I really appreciate all you guys do. I just wanted to say that CARE, by their very name, and declaring themselves to be a council on relations between the two cultures, shows their hypocrisy and shows their true colors when they deny people to come forth and do any teaching concerning what Islam is.
Well, they don't care anything about that. See, Patty, they don't want you to be educated about Islam. They don't want you to know about it. They want to keep you in the dark because then they're the only ones who are allowed to educate people about Islam and what Islam means. You know, if you tell people about what CARE is, do you know that the FBI will no longer even work with CARE officially? They have stated that as part of their policy because of CARE's terror ties. There's no reason that a community college should be bending over backwards for the Council on American-Islamic Relations. most members of Congress have rejected them. The FBI won't work with them. A number of their staff, one is the founder of their Texas chapter, is serving a 65-year prison sentence. 65 years. Their former, one of their former coordinators in Washington, D.C., a 20-year prison sentence. And this is who Lane Community College is getting the opinion from on who should be teaching a class about Islam. And Barry said on the broadcast, he may have his own personal opinions, but he wanted to educate people in the community. It was approved by the state-controlled community college in Eugene, Oregon, and then the class was canceled when the Council on American-Islamic Relations got involved. They only want Islam taught from their perspective. They said it would absolutely be fine. And Than, they actually said this, their spokesperson in Oregon said they'd be fine with a Muslim activist teaching a class on Islam, even though they were saying that the goal of this was they wanted an objective approach.
Yeah, no, let me read a couple quotes from you, actually. It started with Professor Summer saying, I was going to discuss basically all aspects of the history of Islam, from the good to the bad. He wanted to give a well-rounded approach. He even invited dissenting views into the classroom to be a part of the discussion. But that wasn't enough for CARE. They said, we actually want to have an unbiased person, such as a Muslim activist, come teach the class. So clearly, this is all about viewpoint. Jordan. This is not about whether or not you're going to give a balanced perspective. It's about CARE wanting to control the message being delivered. They're saying we're okay with this class going forward, but only if we can pick the speakers and only if we can control what they're saying.
Dan, let's grab one more call.
Jordan, let's get one more before the break. We've got Rudy from Florida calling on line 1. Rudy, welcome to Jay Secular Live.
Thank you for taking my call. God bless you guys, and thank you for being a voice for conservative ideals. I find it interesting that these activists can form committees and organizations that use our own rights and laws against us to shut us down and not be able to speak freely. And I believe that why it's very shameful that that college would even ban a course that, like you say, is just to inform and be able to teach people, because I really don't know either. I only hear about Islam of what's heard on the news. So if you have someone that wants to inform us and teach us and see exactly, because I'm sure that not everybody that practices Islam are radicals. And
you know what, Rudy? I took a class in law school on Islamic law because I thought it was important to know with our work with the American Center for Law and Justice what exactly we were talking about all the time when we were talking about Sharia law. Where is it in the Quran? Where is it in the Sunnah of Muhammad? That's what we do. We educate ourselves when we talk about issues, and we know we are being faced with threats from radical Islam, threats from terrorists who claim Islam as their religion. But what do we know, Rudy? We know that the radical Muslims will use our own laws against us. It's called lawfare, and the American Center for Law and Justice has been fighting it. That's why now we're representing Barry in this case in Oregon. We have the Committee to Reject Terror Groups and Protect Free Speech Rights. Join the committee right now to protect free speech from Islamic pressure, from pressure and intimidation from groups like CARE. Call our toll-free number, 877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255. The Committee to Protect Free Speech from Islamic Pressure. It's happening right here in the United States of America. These groups tied to terrorism, groups FBI won't work with, are still pushing ordinary Americans around. No more. 877-989-2255 or aclj.org.
In Oregon, speaking the truth about Islam can cost you your job. That's exactly what happened to a teacher at a community college in Oregon. He was scheduled to teach a class on Islam, introducing students primarily to the Quran and other viewpoints on Islam in a world where terrorism is a constant threat. Then the terrorism-related group CARE steps in, objects, and the teacher is fired. An organization the U.S. government labeled an unindicted co-conspirator in a major terrorism case with links to Hamas pressures the school into firing the teacher. The American Center for Law and Justice is representing the teacher, standing up for his constitutionally protected free speech rights. The ACLJ is demanding the school rehire the teacher and reinstate the class. Americans are sick and tired of the intimidation tactics used by CARE. Stand with the ACLJ now. Sign on to our committee and send a message to the community college and to CARE. Stop the intimidation now. Add add your name today. Call 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255 or online aclj.org.
Welcome back. Are you sick and tired of being intimidated by being called an Islamophobe, xenophobic, racist just because you happen to take a stand against radical Islam and you believe that the radical political ideology of Islam is destructive to the United States and the Western world or even the entire world? Is it time that we just take a stand against CARE, that enough is enough? We are being pushed around with a group with terror ties, a group that the FBI won't work with, a group who has founders serving 65-year prison sentences, staff serving 20-year prison sentences, and not for something unrelated, because they were funneling money or people to terror organizations. They're in jail, and yet a community college in Eugene, Oregon, will bend over to the demands of the Council on American-Islamic Relations without thinking about the free speech rights of someone like Barry Summer, who joined us on the broadcast. And because he takes a different political view of political Islam than CARE, they think he is disqualified from teaching, and the community college followed what they advised. I'll tell you what we're about to do. We have a demand letter going to Lane Community College, and you can be a part of that by joining the Committee to Protect Free Speech from Islamic Intimidation. You can be part of the demand letter. As we're broadcasting this right now, it is getting prepared to be sent off to Lane Community College. You can be a part of the letter. You can be a part of standing up for Barry Summer, because, like as he said, this isn't just about him. This is not about him. This is about standing up for American values, saying we're not going to be pushed around anymore by radical Islamic groups like CARE. Here's the toll-free number you call to be a part of that demand letter. Join the Committee to Protect Free Speech from Islamic Intimidation. Here's the number, 877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255. I'm excited about this, folks, because the American Center for Law and Justice, we trade barbs back and forth with groups like CARE. But this time, we're taking them to task. And we're telling this community college, you better tell us why in this demand letter you canceled this class. Why'd you fire Barry? He was going to get paid a little bit for this class. Not a lot. That's not his purpose of why he wanted to teach it. But he was going to get some salary for showing up, for educating the community. He was advertising it because the community college told him to. And now the class has been canceled, removed from the list of classes. So Barry, as of right now, he's not scheduled to teach that class. But we're going to do something about it. We've got that demand letter being ready to send off to Lane Community College, and you can be a part of it. Call our toll-free number now, 877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255. No more Islamic intimidation in the United States.
Yeah, Jordan, and I think you're right here. The focus really does have to be on CARE. You know, you talked about the FBI and the members of Congress who recognize their ties to terror. Well, the Department of Justice recognized it too. They know that they're unindicted co-conspirators in the Holy Land Foundation case. They know that those ties to groups like Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood are well established. And so what you have is a situation where a group with those strong ties to terror are forcing a community college to do something that the people of that community don't agree with. We should not be bending over to them, certainly not. And listen to what the state director for CARE of Washington said. They said that we should have a Muslim activist do this as long as they presented it in an unbiased way. Well, I have to tell you, a Muslim activist, by very definition, would not be unbiased. I think Barry Summer, in his interview with us in the first segment, demonstrated that he would probably be far more unbiased than any Muslim activist you're going to come across. Let's take some phone calls. Let's go to line one. Kathy from New York is calling on line one. Kathy, welcome to Jay Secular Live.
Well, it's kind of a question comment. Isn't there a definition in this country of traitor anymore?
Well, listen, Kathy, it's so interesting that we even allow the Council on American-Islamic Relations in the United States to be a voice for Islam, because if it's truly a voice for moderate Islam or mainstream Islam in America, Islam's got serious problems, because this group, again, the FBI said, we're not working with you. They are an unindicted co-conspirator in a terror funding case called the Holy Land Foundation case, a Hamas case, and it came out of Texas. The actual director of CARE in Texas is serving a 65-year prison sentence. So yeah, we do have those laws on the books for financing foreign terror organization, and CARE's own staff and directors are serving jail terms. Two of them, one a 65-year term, another a 20-year term. Two more have been deported. So they are a group that meets the definition of financiers of terrorism. And if they are the true voice of Islam in America, well, that's Islam's problem. But we don't have to get pushed around by this group anymore and afraid to speak out, afraid to give back to our community by educating, by offering to teach a class. And we need to hear from all of you. We've got a demand letter. The ACLJ represents Barry Summer, the individual who is ready to take a stand against being fired because CARE didn't like his personal background and his political beliefs, so he couldn't teach that class. The demand letter is about ready to go. You can be a part of it. You call our toll-free number right now. I need to hear from you. 877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255.
Let's go to Tim from California next. He's calling on line 5. Tim, welcome to Jay Secular Live.
Yes, hi, Jordan.
Hey, Tim.
It's past time that we stand up and tell CARE enough is enough, because everybody has a right to teach a class. No one has a right to tell someone you can't teach a class because you're offending Islam. So it's past.
Well, and listen, Tim, I think you're right. We have been waiting for a time where we could take on CARE directly and at least expose them. Now, here we got the demand letters going to the community college because they're the ones that bent over backwards because of CARE's letter. They probably didn't even research CARE. And so it's time. What do we need to do, Tim? Expose the Council on American-Islamic Relations. And we use this opportunity where they've gotten themselves involved by sending this demand letter so that we can tell Lane Community College, and let me show you, this is the demand letter. I'm holding it right now in my hands for our television broadcast, and it documents CARE's terror ties in the letter going to the Lane Community College. You can be a part of that demand letter that's about to be sent off by calling our toll-free number, joining the committee to protect free speech from Islamic intimidation. It's 877-989-2255. So in an ACLJ demand letter, we are now able to document CARE's terror ties. You call right now, 877-989-2255 to be a part of that demand letter so that Barry's What is Islam class is able to move forward in Oregon.
Let's try to get one more call before the break. Jordan, we've got Barbara from Kentucky calling on line 4. Barbara, welcome to Jay Secular Live.
Hi. I have two comments. And the first one is that Michael Youssef on leadingtheway.org has a free fact sheet of what the Muslims believe, and it's open, anybody can get it, but it's real informative about them being a conquering religion, political force.
Michael Youssef, a great source. He's from Egypt. He understands what it's like to live under an Islamic regime, an Islamic government, and Islamic law. So I'm glad, Barbara, that you're using that as a source. But no way, Michael Youssef would never be allowed to teach this class in Eugene, Oregon either, because he's decided to educate his own supporters and the people of his church and his ministry about Islam and his perspective of it. So he need not apply either to be educating. But Barry Summer, he tried to. He wanted to give back to his community, and he was told no after being told yes because of the Council on American-Islamic Relations, the terror-tied, unindicted co-conspirators with their members, directors, and former staff serving long-term prison sentences. Take a stand against them. Join this demand letter, 877-989-2255. It's time to stand against CARE, 877-989-2255.
In Oregon, speaking the truth about Islam can cost you your job. That's exactly what happened to a teacher at a community college in Oregon. He was scheduled to teach a class on Islam, introducing students primarily to the Quran and other viewpoints on Islam in a world where terrorism is a constant threat. Then the terrorism-related group CARE steps in, objects, and the teacher is fired. An organization the U.S. government labeled an unindicted co-conspirator in a major terrorism case with links to Hamas pressures the school into firing the teacher. The American Center for Law and Justice is representing the teacher, standing up for his constitutionally protected free speech rights. The ACLJ is demanding the school rehire the teacher and reinstate the class. Americans are sick and tired of the intimidation tactics used by CARE. Stand with the ACLJ now. Sign on to our committee and send a message to the community college and to CARE. Stop the intimidation now. Add your name today. Call 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255 or online aclj.org.